Hello and welcome to Footy Corner TV. This is We're the North Bank, and we're doing a breakdown of the Man United game on Sunday. Really seems a long time ago again. Always seems to end that way. But we've got Arsenal domination with us again. How are we, Dom?
Yeah, not too bad.
What's that about?
To be fair, I am small anyway, so you probably were right having me in the little picture. But
we should put them like that. That's all right.
It's all good. Anyway, I'm all fine. Obviously Sunday disappointing, but you have to sort of move on a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I did see some of your kind of analyses of whether Ødegaard is good enough and whether certain things. So have we got over that, or do we think that's a big problem? Do we think that should be what is being analysed right now, or what we're thinking?
I mean, on Ødegaard, it's obviously a topic of conversation. I mean, for me, I still think Ødegaard, there's a really good player in there. Last season was not good for him for various reasons, and I think he's had a really disrupted season this season as well. He showed signs of starting to get back to his best recently, but the last 3 games have been tough. But I think they've been tough for everyone, right? I mean, I think for me, I've got a preview out tomorrow on the Khairat game. Arsenal going to be winning this, and they've got midfield options. Sure, I'd be playing Ødegaard in that game because I think he just needs a little bit of find a little bit of rhythm, find a little bit of get an assist, get a goal. And he didn't get an assist on Sunday because it's an own goal, but he kind of got an assist anyway. But he just needs a little bit of confidence. But I also think it's one of those ones where we shouldn't be afraid to bench him, but I don't think you're benching him necessarily for poor form because it's only been a few games, and I still think he offers a lot outside those sort of goals, assists. But I think the clamour will go for him to be sold, which I don't agree with if he doesn't start stepping up. But I just think you might want to bench him for some games based on what the opposition is. And I was talking about this again before the Forest game, which is a long time ago, obviously. He seems to be struggling a little bit with these really low defensive blocks that we're facing this season, because what he is at his best is when he can find a little bit of space and pop the ball into a little bit of space, but he's clever sort of 1-2 touch passes, which he can't necessarily do when you've got such a tight unit ahead of him. Eze, meanwhile, is a different type of player, sort of, the fancy tricks, the magic moments, a moments player. He's probably better against those ones. And then Ødegaard may be coming on later when the space starts to open up. But equally in like Champions League games, or, he didn't play well against Manchester United, but where there's a little bit more space, that's where I think Ødegaard really does thrive. And I wonder if that's kind of affecting me a little bit. But, my personal view is I'm not ready to give up on him. I can understand the clamour for it, but there is an argument for him sitting out a few games, just to give others a chance while he's not at his best, because we have got the squad to be able to do that. But the idea that he's suddenly absolutely rubbish is beyond me. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
You can't just say muted. You can't just say muted. It's fine.
I was, but I didn't know if you could hear me.
Oh yeah, I can hear you. I just muted it because my keyboard's really loud. So yeah, you just we're just going to do a couple of hellos, obviously, because you didn't hear that. But yeah, Khalid, evening. How are we? Thanks for your continued support, and great to see Mama Flossie in here as well. One of the Football Terrace community. So great to see you along. Thanks for joining up. We've got Charles 87. Mate, how are you? It's confirmed the team was booed by. Is it confirmed that the teams were booed by fans? Team at the top of the Premier League. What do you think of this? Desperation or PTSD? I think a bit of both. It is confirmed, but it was a very small minority in there. You're going to get that because that there are people in there that seem to be quite entitled and whatnot, and it's just been a long time coming. So I guess I just think a bit of both, to be honest with you. So
what's your reaction to that?
What's to the booing?
Yeah.
I think it's I think it's far too early for that kind of nonsense. We're still 4 points clear. I think if those 4 points or that 7 point from Sunday obviously goes down to 1, I think it's a whole different issue. If we pattern up and we beat Leeds, and then who we got after Leeds? I can always forget now.
We've got the next away games are Brentford and Spurs. I should know this because we've got a home game. Sunderland, that's it. Yeah, well,
Sunderland at home. So and Sunderland have been a bit of a downward spiral as well. And then Brentford, and then Spurs. So I think you've got to be looking at least 9 points between that lot. To be honest, with those 4 games. I always say that we play, we take each game at a time, but you have certain expectations. And to be fair, I have expectations that that City will drop points in the next couple of fixtures. That they've got Spurs and Liverpool away. I mean, they can go either way. To be fair, though, but those results. I mean, what do you make to Spurs fans basically doing this lay down and die kind of gimmick again? That basically will celebrate the City win.
I mean, it's kind of like the booing. You're entitled to do what you want if you're a fan of your team, but I find it odd, or to use your word, absurd. Like, you should always want your team to win. I get it's a difficult one where you winning might hand your rivals the league, but
it's not difficult at all. It's not difficult at all.
I can't.
It's your team over anybody's team. It's not
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
exactly what I was just going to say. It's never the nicest feeling. You're like, oh God, if we win, but you always want to win. Like, there's a different. It's bizarre because in American football, sometimes you do actually want your team to win because it means nothing if you win, but it can actually mean a heck of a lot for your future. But it doesn't work like that in football over here. And like I say, I can understand it's difficult, but it's not, as you say, it's not ultimately a difficult decision because you should always want your team to do well and always want it to win.
Yeah, I as I said, I always think it's your team over anybody else, and all right, if you can do yourself a favor whilst hindering your rival, then fair enough. Basically wanting to fall over and lose, particularly when you're on 28 points in 14th. Crystal Palace are also on 28 points in 15th. Leeds are on 26 points in 16th. Now, we would hope that Leeds won't pick up any points this weekend because we're playing them.
Yeah.
And then you've got Nottingham Forest on 25 points and West Ham on 20 points. So, you're not a million miles away from a relegation battle there.
No.
Granted, Wolves aren't coming back, but Burnley and West Ham could.
Yeah, I think more likely West Ham. And I think, you're looking.
Points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm looking at that and thinking, if I was betting on one side out of Tottenham down to not go down, it would probably be them. But as you say, they're not safe. And even if you were safe, like you were saying, you just don't want your team to lose at all. You've got to keep going on. It's the same with fans that want to be proved right, so want their team to lose, so they can say they don't like the manager. I don't understand the mentality. You always want your team to win. I find it very, very odd. I don't like this view of wanting something you support and love or profess to support and love, wanting them to see them fail. It seems odd.
But this is the thing. It's the profession, isn't it? It's like, you're projecting that, but then you're flipping it on its head, basically saying I want to lose, and it's just it's a little bit baffling that anybody thinks like that. For me, to be honest with you. Evening, Daniel. How are we, sir? Welcome in, guys. Make sure you're liking and subscribing and sharing the live as well. That'd be much appreciated. We've got the state of play. Can they change it over that we are what we are, but by design? To be honest, what else can Arteta do to get the vibes back? I don't think it's even getting the vibes back. To be honest with you, I just think we just have to be a little bit more composed, a little bit more forward passing. I see people, basically going completely off the end, saying we don't pass forward at all. Well, how do you get corners? How do you get shots? How do you get anything if you don't pass forwards? I don't really understand.
Well, the stats don't bear it out either, do they? I mean,
no, they don't. They don't at all. And to be honest with you, I think in the first 20 minutes, Odegaard put about 3 or 4 of those cutting through balls through. Now they didn't go to anybody, but he was making those balls through. So for me, I mean, I was listening to another pod this morning, and he was a big advocate of putting Jesus on. But I didn't really see he did that much. I don't know about you. I don't think he didn't lead the line very well, and to be honest with you, even when he was coming back, I was kind of this opinion. Yes, we want him back to be some rotation for Gyökeres, but he's probably going to get sold in the summer anyway. So I don't really see he's going to be a massive part, specifically if Havertz gets back. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jesus, there's been a little bit of talk about should he be offered a new contract. My view is you don't do anything with that until at least the end of the season. Nor I think that's probably the right thing for Jesus too. I think on Sunday I would have gone with Jesus because you had a very small sample size of what Michael Carrick was going to do. Gut feeling was pretty much what he did, which is sit in, hit on the counter, but hit hard when they went on the counter. But not knowing fully what you're going to do, Jesus is probably someone that can drop in short like Havertz, but can sort of stretch the play like Gyökeres. Not to the same ability as either of those two in either of those two facets, but the fact he can do a little bit of both. If you're not sure how Carrick is going to set up because of that limited sort of intelligence on him, I thought it was the right call to start with him. But I didn't think he had a good game. And to be fair, I think a couple of our big players didn't have a good game. But my view overall is that can happen. I think we're in a little bit of a dip in the league, but I also think there's a stark contrast, and we've spoken about this before, between the league and the cups. And I think that is partly because of the way the opposition play. It's an undeniable fact about where those defensive lines are. I think that is the case right around the Premier League too. I think Manchester City suffer from it at times, to be honest with you. Less so, but, even then teams will sit in against them and they can find it difficult. They beat Wolves at the weekend 2-0, but Wolves did still make it difficult for them. So it is seemingly more difficult and it makes it less attractive to watch. But I think that is impacting sort of the way we play. And as I say, Odegaard, I think, does need to try and refine some form, but he's not as bad as everyone says he is. But I think I use this Odegaard example here to sort of demonstrate the point that people said when Eza played on Tuesday in the San Siro, we looked much better. Well, actually, I thought Eza was our least good player on the pitch. I don't think anyone was bad on Tuesday.
He didn't have any control whatsoever, did he? He was, it was literally anything that kind of came offensively the other way came through him.
Yes,
in my opinion. I think it was kind of miscontrolling or trying to do something and it not coming off. And I get that you've got to take the risk and you've got to whatever, but he did a lot of that where he kind of running into the blind alley with like 3 or 4 players pressing around him, not really turning out of it and just trying to bundle through. And it doesn't really work for me, to be honest, particularly in Champions League. It's not like, they're not seasoned pros and they're going to let you through some things. So
yeah, exactly. I think some of that was probably a little bit of trying to take his opportunity to impress, trying a little bit too much. But I think the point.
I think Saka's suffering from the same thing, by the way.
Trying to get something happening. Yeah,
he's trying to force a goal. He's trying to force assist, and it's just that little bit of they've all got that little bit of pressure on their shoulders, where they're trying to impress for different reasons, and
it's not quite coming off.
Struggling because of it.
Yeah. But I think, as I say, I think the difference is also game state. But Inter came out far more than teams in the Premier League do, and that's why we look like we can flow.
They needed points, though. To be fair,
they did. Yeah, they absolutely did. But as a result, we were able to adjust, and I think it does show that Arteta can actually, coach an attack. I think this accusation.
All I'm saying is, if that's in the group stage, if the knockout phase, and we're going to them first, and then they come to us because that'd be the way that happens.
Yeah,
they're not playing like that. No way.
No, I agree. But the main point is the difference between the two. So you get more of a flow in the Champions League because of the way teams are playing against us. It's not that we can't.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the logic. I'm just saying that.
But I agree.
Different phases of the actual tournament, they're going to be playing differently.
Exactly. And we see it in World Cups, for instance, in the group stages. It can be far more open than the knockout stage and far more enjoyable, generally speaking. And I think there needs to be that understanding, which of the differences between games, and it will affect. It's not about the individual player. What it is about sometimes is getting your right combination based on who you're playing. But that's it's not that we can't coach and attack at all. It's just ridiculous. We've had goal scoring record seasons under Arteta. We're still the second highest scorers in the Premier League. It's that narrative is madness, and it is a narrative, and it feeds in, and I think it does feed into some sort of nervousness in amongst elements of the fan base, which I don't think are quite. Well, it's not that they're not valid because you're entitled to your opinion, but I think it's overblown about how bad things are at the moment, because I don't think things are bad at all. I think we're in a little bit of a rut, and obviously we've got to turn it around a little bit. But I'm not concerned about the wider context of the season at this moment.
Yeah, sure.
I nearly did a Gary Neville then and said at this moment in time, but I stopped myself.
I probably wouldn't have linked it to that either, but Khalid's replying to Charles, Testa will make structural changes. He sees what we see. He'll get us playing again. He has to, really. And the opposition that we're coming up against now they're stubborn opponents. They won't be as assured as the Liverpools, as the Man Uniteds, and whatever. So we just have to make it pay, and hopefully put that distance back up where it was. So as I say, I think City have got a couple of difficult opponents coming up. So they go away to Spurs, away to Liverpool, then they're home to Fulham and home to Newcastle.
And then away at Leeds.
So, but then again, if we're expected to beat Leeds, then obviously they're expected to beat them as well.
Right, so, not according to the media, those Sparks.
No, what's going to happen? No. What it is, it's a tough place to go, and we'll only get a draw or at best, and this, that, and the other, and then we'll beat them. If we beat them, not doing the arrogant thing. We're trying to give an opinion, and then it would be it was only Leeds, so it doesn't matter.
And by the way, Leeds have only lost twice at home this season in the league.
Have they?
Yeah.
No, didn't need to add that, but there you go. Daniel said evening. Hoodlin, evening guys, just leaving the office, so turning in. Okay, mate, nice one. I hope you have a safe journey home, mate.
Yeah, especially with the weather, if it's anything like it is around our way.
But bloody cover of my garden furniture just keeps getting blown to smithereens.
Yeah, we're flooding. I have a train station over the river. Whoever thought that was a good idea is it went to head red.
It's not a good idea.
it's not a good idea. I decided this morning last night I wasn't going today because I was like, I don't want to get stuck up in London.
yeah. At least you can swim if you don't get a train. Was encouraged by Mikel's press conference, reset in motion. I mean, to be honest with you, I listened to that press conference, and he was honest, and he was just everything about everything was kind of to the point, and he's saying, we just need to get behind the team. We need to do this, that, and the other. We need to reset from internal, but everybody else external needs to reset as well. And I don't get the hate he gets. I really don't, even from rival fans. I just don't get it.
I get it from rival fans, but it's overblown, right? I'm just going to use a technical area as an example. He's not the only one that walks out of a technical area. His press conferences get clipped up, and again, from a rivalry point of view, and a little bit of taking the mick, like absolutely fine. But our own fans go on about him blaming the ball for that Newcastle defeat last year. It's not what he said.
Never happened.
It's not what he said. He was asked
happened.
about the ball, and he answered the question, possibly naively, about the ball, but he wasn't blaming the ball. So I'm with you, but I think his message today was really one of togetherness, one of clear the air, and I think that was, I think you mentioned tiredness last week, and I kind of took that as physical tiredness, but there may be a little bit of mental fatigue just creeping in a little bit. And not saying that they can't handle the pressure, but they played a lot of games.
Do you think, though, even though though we've played a lot of games, do you think there's been too much rotation? Do you think there's a potential that the not keeping the core together for most of the games? Do you think that has an impact as well?
You could argue that. I mean, I think there was an argument about Chelsea that I made about, I forget his name now, Maresca, over rotating. So you could make an argument that's affecting Arsenal. But I think if you look in the Premier League games, it's been, generally speaking, that same core. You kind of know what that Premier League team is. So it does play together a lot. So I think less so. And also, earlier on to October, November time, we were having to make a lot of changes because someone was injured. So we did have that down. So I don't necessarily, kind of. So I don't think it is that. I mean, maybe, but I think even if it is, and I don't necessarily think it is, I think that could well be quite telling come the end of the season. And I'm just basing this on history, right? 2 years ago, everyone was saying Klopp's going to win the league. I thought it was fairly obvious about February time that they were going to run out of steam. Our first title tilt, again, I said in September, there's no way the squad's deep enough. It's going to run out of steam. I just think this squad, where we are making those changes, is roughly keeping the players fairly fresh for what will be the quotes business end of the season in a couple of months' time. It could well benefit us, but I don't think it is affecting us adversely now because, as I say, I think the core of that team is pretty much playing together, in the Premier League games, and maybe the fact they don't play midweek and then do that, players like Declan Rice kind of need the rhythm, but I don't think it is. I think if it is, I think we'll find out soon enough, because I think that would have been a very honest conversation I've had in that team meeting, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite a stern conversation as well. I think it'd be quite to the point, and just laying it on the line that it's just not good enough. Yeah. And I certainly hope that's what's happened, because I think all the kind of the Amazon Prime thing, where it's kind of pussyfooting around, and I think that will have gone now. I think that would be a warming up process, rather than we're at the peak now, we've got to make it happen, and we're under pressure to make it happen. Those guys out there pay a lot of money to make it happen. So I personally think that falls into it as well. But I do agree with you. I think that some of the rotation maybe has been excessive, but some of it has been enforced, and some of it was. The thing is, I was listening to pods earlier on today, and it was this guy's an Arsenal fan from Nigeria, right? And he has some good takes and he has some bad takes, just like everybody else does. Yeah. Nobody agrees with everything I say. I'm not going to, pick on something that somebody else says and say that they're blatantly wrong. Because it's people's opinion. They have every right to their own opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But my problem is when players have played virtually the same amount of game time, and one is over rotated and one is overplayed. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's like Saka's overplayed.
But he hasn't played 3 games in a week once this season, I don't think.
Right. And also when he had the away fixtures against Bournemouth, and who was the other one we played away from home? Forest, was it?
Yeah, we played Forest at City Ground. Yeah,
we started with Madueke both those games, didn't we?
Yes,
we definitely did on the Bournemouth game.
Definitely did at Bournemouth, and I'm pretty sure we did against Forest too.
Yeah, I think we did the Forest game as well. So, and then he gets the 25 minutes and whatever. So, I don't understand how you can basically say he's overplayed and he's whatever. I just think it's like we already said in the stream today. I think that the guys are desperate. They're desperate to do better for themselves. They're desperate to do better for the team, and they're desperate to do better for the fans. I'm just sure of it. I'm just thinking that, and this kind of week, and I will say that there was a decent view that the mentality now is like this should be in the last 6 games of a run-in, or the last 8 games of a run-in rather, where we're trying to get over the line, we're trying to do whatever, but maybe it's come too early.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think the narrative that Arsenal are bottom the league at this point is sort of connected to that sort of mentality of the run-in is daft. It's so far out, and we're still in the lead. But I think there is that desire to get there, and I don't think it's outside pressure. I think it's inside pressure because these guys all want to win, right? They're desperate to win. It's why they're signing these contracts to stay. You can see it, and just on something you said there about the Amazon documentary, sort of saw the touchy, fluffy stuff. We also know that Arteta's got an iron rod, and you can see that players like Gabriel, Rice, and others, in different ways, Saka, they all have very, very high standards, and so does the manager. You can see it on the touchline. You can hear it in his press conferences. I mean, if he's coming out and saying, a Wolves game sort of swings to mind, that wasn't good enough today. We won, but that wasn't good enough, is essentially what he said in the press conference post Wolves.
Yeah.
Well, if he's saying that in public, imagine what he's saying in private. So there's no way that he's shrinking violence. And I think that's a positive thing. It's what you want. I think it's a good sign, but it's also a sign that, you can sort of see by the way we talk about Gyökeres in public. And I'm not trying to pick on Gyökeres, but I don't think Mikel Arteta has ever said one negative thing in public about Gyökeres. But I'd actually say that's good management because, I'm implying here, I don't know Victor Gyökeres, but it suggests that he knows he needs a bit of an arm around the shoulder. Whereas in the past, he's, picked on players, but that might be because he's trying to get a reaction. Alex Ferguson, rightly or wrongly, has a reputation for being one of the best man managers in the game. Now, Roy Keane would disagree with that, but he would go after players, and he says so. He said so publicly afterwards. There were certain players he would go after in the changing room more publicly because he knew that would get the reaction. But it also meant that the ones that needed a bit of an arm around the shoulder felt that they weren't being the ones picked on, and that helped them. It's about knowing your players. So I think there's a lot of positives there, but I think this team is desperate to win. I think it will win. And I think it's why we talk about the League Cup being so important this season. If you can get that silverware out the way in March, that could be a huge, huge thing for them. And it could well help them in the run-in. But right now we're in sort of phase 2 of the season, that bit where you just grind out to get the points. You don't need to be running hot like an express train. But I do think that because of the rotation and management minutes, we should be in a position post-season to play the players week in, week out if we need to, because they haven't got that many minutes in the legs like they did in previous years. And I think all that bodes well for me. I mean, we'll see what happens.
I do agree with you, but I also do think that they have shown a bit of a mentality issue. We just hope that they just get over it now, and it's it's kind of done with because I mean that can prey on you. It's not something that you want to happen for a sustained period of time.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
And I
because
think Leeds is really the telling one, really, for how we've responded rather than Carrot on Wednesday, because Carrot is a kind of gimme game, and we're probably not going to see the side that's going to play Leeds either.
I'm actually of a different opinion. Actually now, I think we need to get some kind of free flowing football back, and I also think that I think we should put a strong side out against them, and basically just for the mental capacity, I reckon we should just go to destroy them, and I reckon that was probably what Pep was trying to do when he sets the full side out against Exeter.
So, sorry, what I meant though by Carrot was you won't necessarily see whether mentally we are over this pressure narrative it's building, because there's no pressure on tomorrow. But sorry, that's what I meant rather than
I get that. But what I'm saying is that can start a kind of snowball effect, if you like. It can start another run of fixtures with unbeaten, whatever. And all right, it's Khairat, but there's a lot of noise that we don't destroy teams, and I think that's although you've got was it Athletic, was that 4-0?
I can't remember now, but we beat Villa 4-1, didn't we?
We beat Villa 4-1. We beat Bayern 3-1.
Yeah, it was 4. I know. I think you're right. Let me check.
Was it 4-1 or 4-0?
I'm just going to check for you, because I think it might have been 4-0.
Yeah, I think it might be 4-0.
At Spurs we beat 4-1. Here we go, 4-0. Yep.
So yeah, there was that. Obviously, Inter with the rotated side, 3-1. I think that was one of the standout performances, to be honest. But I think if you can lay a marker down, and I know it's only Khairat, it's only whatever, but we've seen, these things can happen with the Bodo Glimt beating City, albeit in challenging conditions with a challenging pitch. They play on the same surface at the end of the day. So
same for both sides of the
exactly the same. So, but this whole thing that it's cold, their main strikers from the same place. To be fair.
Exactly.
So,
these guys are paid a lot more, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go totally strong tomorrow, and I don't
mean totally strong, but what I'm saying is instead of doing full on rotation where there's 10 subs or whatever, I think 4, 5, maybe even 6. I mean, we've got 2 enforced anyway, I think.
Yeah, Moreno and Rice are suspended.
Rice are suspended anyway.
And if and I have to put this big caveat on, if you believe Arteta, Dave, and Timber and Saliba are out, but I think that's sensible. Actually,
Saliba as well.
They
didn't train.
They didn't train, and he said that they are out for tomorrow. I think that probably means they're out of the starting lineup rather than are out.
Right.
I think my take of that is he doesn't intend on using them tomorrow, and I think that's sensible, particularly in the case of Yuri Timber. The other player I wouldn't want to see tomorrow is Zubimendi, but I think, well, in some ways the result doesn't matter from the outside perspective, because we win 10-0 tomorrow. I'm not saying we will, but we win 10-0 tomorrow. Everyone goes, well, it's only Khairat. So from that point of view, you can't win. But what you do want, and I'm going to go back to Martin Odegaard. I keep picking on him, but him and Eza both playing tomorrow, I think will be huge for them. And if they can get a goal and an assist, that's huge for them. Saka getting even half an hour to get a goal.
I'm putting Eza in Trossard position, though. Am I on that?
Yes,
inside forward.
So I was going to do that. So I think you've got 2 options tomorrow because of your midfield. So I'm not sure how fit Hincapié and Calafiori are. So I think you're going to have to go. You're probably going Kepa in goal, because why would you not? Right, Ben White at right back, because I think Timber shouldn't be playing anyway tomorrow. Give him a rest. If Saliba's out, you could bring in Marley Salmon there.
Mosquera anyway, wouldn't it?
Well, with Mosquera, you could then put Hincapié and Calafiori mixing minutes at left back. Because
Calafiori back.
Yeah, back in training today.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
And then you could play Miles Lewis-Skelly alongside Norgard in midfield if you wanted to, with Odegaard in the 10, Eza left, whoever you want on the right, and Havertz or someone else up front. That's one way. Another option could be you go two up front, because you've got the midfield issue. So I don't want to see Zubimendi tomorrow. You have Norgard at the base with probably at that point, Eza in midfield, and just go, do you know what? Sorry,
because there's a hole there, isn't there, without Marino and without Rice.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going 4-1-3, 4-4-1-1 with Eza sort of slightly deep but slightly ahead of Norgard. So sort of a 4-4-2 in many ways. But Havertz,
Rice has been playing there anyway, hasn't he?
Exactly. But your other option is to go Martinelli left and then 2 10s of Eza and Odegaard with Norgard sitting. So I think you've got kind of options there. And I think it'd be very interesting, but it's how you compose your midfield probably dictates how you line up the rest of the team. And I think that's somewhat going to be dependent on who plays at the back, but also then, and then you sort of go from there. Because if Miles Lewis-Skelly's playing at left back, then you're looking at one of those latter two options. So I think there's lots of options there, but the three for me that miss out for definite, it would be Saliba, Timber, and Zubimendi, and possibly Gabriel. The rest, I don't mind who plays. I'd like to see Saka get at least half an hour. You probably start Madueke, but Saka for half an hour. Up front will depend. If Havertz is fit, you start him and then bring on Gyökeres. If not, do it the other way around. But so
he won't.
I think, but certain, I don't think so because he hasn't got the minutes off the bench yet.
Yeah.
But but maybe he's been saving him for this moment and building up for this moment. Who knows? But my gut feel is it's not Havertz. But I think it's really key that actually you do get minutes for some of these forwards to try and get a goal because it's a big opportunity. So for me, it's not about the performance, but it's not performance. It's not about the strong team, but it's about the players that need to get minutes for their confidence and try and get them a goal. And that is Saka, and it is Eza, it is Odegaard, it is arguably Gyökeres, just to try and get them this goal and sort of almost remind them how to score. And I don't mean that they've forgotten, but I mean the body just not overthinking it, and getting those shots away. We saw Saka in the San Siro, didn't we? Just take that extra touch, and that allowed, I can't remember who the defender was now, to get in and make it was a fantastic block.
Yeah, it was a cracking tackle, by the way, but it was just that extra touch, wasn't it? That just wasn't necessary.
Whereas if Saka had scored recently, he banged that first time.
He bags that, yeah. Obviously Gyökeres is getting a lot of criticism still, and justifiably so. But yeah, I expect him to play tomorrow, and and if he blanks blanks this game, then there could be problems. But I think I'm kind of in agreement. I reckon I'm starting Lewis Skelly at left back though.
I think that most likely
Martinelli. Like you say, I probably Eze in the 8 to 10 role. Norgard in the base. So you probably got Mosquera on one side. I would probably suggest it's Gabriel the other,
unless you do Hincapié, because it's slightly less hectic centre back. Yeah, but then he's just had 60 minutes having come back from injury. So my gut feeling is Gabriel and then Hincapié.
Yeah, I think you probably put him on as, like you say, the last 25 minutes or something like that, just to kind of get some few
more minutes,
oil in the legs, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But probably Gyökeres up top. Madueke is going to be on the right. Obviously, you would have thought. Frustrated me a few times as Madueke, to be fair, but I don't think it's the right time to be actually calling out individual players. I think the team just needs to be together.
Yes.
And if we get through these two fixtures with maximum points, I mean, it doesn't really matter with Khairat really, but yes, we definitely we shouldn't be losing to them at all. And we get through Leeds with the points as well, then I think
changes the feeling, doesn't it?
It changes the feeling. Yeah, it basically puts it back. Well, it puts the pressure back on City, to be fair. We play first, I think, this weekend. I don't
I will
think
double
they
check,
play.
but I think you're
I
right.
think,
But I'll double
I think
check
they
for you.
play either evening or Sunday. Yeah,
I think
in
they play
last
Sunday.
game.
Yeah, last game
Um,
Sunday. Yeah.
So that works in our favour as well a little bit.
I agree. I think this week is so much about narrative, isn't it? It's about confidence and narrative. A couple of players get goals. I think that helps them confidence. You know, you don't beat Khairat. You just the noise is going to be unbelievable. And then I think if you then don't beat Leeds, I think there is genuinely, you've
A
got a little
problem.
bit of there is genuinely a problem. But also, again, that noise is there. We've seen a noise this week. You'd think we've lost the last 5 games the way the noise has been this week. We've lost once at home this season. You know, and look, Manchester United got 2 wonder goals. They defended well. We didn't play brilliantly. Play that game again. And I know it doesn't work like this. You don't lose that game, but we did. And we didn't play well. And it's not to paper over the cracks. But you would have thought that we have just.
It's not even peppering on the cracks. I don't think. I think you're right. I think individual errors and snapshot moments lost that game, and I don't think that's another day we win that game.
Yeah, I think so. And like I say, it doesn't work like that. But the noise you'd have thought I mean, I heard someone say to me the other day, it's been coming since Wolves. Well, we've won 7, drawn 3 since Wolves.
Yeah, so how has it been coming?
Exactly.
Yeah, but the other one, I mean, I do find it quite bizarre because obviously when we beat Real Madrid, that was a big thing for us, right? When we beat them in the Champions League, and we celebrated it, and we did what we saw fit to do, and the actual explosion on the internet is like it's like Man United won a trophy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Have you seen the Phil Jones interview or the podcast or whatever he's doing now?
No, maybe, but I thought it was Ben Forster. If you're going to say what I think you're going to say, so in that case, no, I haven't.
Okay, so but he's basically going on about how Arteta's animated on the touchline and this, that, and the other, and it portrays in the players, whereas Carrick's really chilled on the touchline. Well, you're like, one's going for a title, and the other one's got another free hit, right? Because the City game and the United game, City game and the Arsenal game would have been free hits to him. He
no pressure at all on him.
From where he was, he wouldn't be expecting to win one of those games, let alone both of them. He'll have like gone, well, you've got to put in the energy, you got to represent you, whatever, and then you hope for the best.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be more about the performance from his point of view rather than the actual result.
Yeah. It's also an odd comment from Phil Jones as well, because forgive me if I'm wrong, but he played under Sir Alex Ferguson, right? Who was, obviously chilled on the sidelines at all times and was never animated.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, I've misremembered. He did play under Sir Alex Ferguson. He used to rant and rave and get in the referees' faces on the touchline every single week. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising for that. All the managers do it. But
it wasn't just Fergie either. It was the first team coach was there, Mike Phelan.
Mike Phelan.
He was always there on the touchline in the ear of the referees and whatever, running up and down the touchline. He was as well. And all right, we didn't have technical areas then, but although we did have technical areas, I suppose, but they were never really enforced. So
not to the same extent they are now. Even then, they're not fully enforced.
No. So it's like, well, you're just talking nonsense, man. And it's just what we need. Another ex-Man United player talking crap on the internet. I don't know where they get the platform. They use this platform just to spout crap. And Ferdinand's come out and said, "Oh yeah, you're just lucky that that everybody else is crap." Right? Okay. If that's the case, then Man United being in fourth are only in fourth because everybody else are crap. Then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was two things. One, the narrative, as we were saying, is is just overblown. And I think the narrative, it's why changing the narrative this week is going to be important for Arsenal, just to calm it and quieten it down again. Partly for our own fan base, who, you know, as Mikel Arteta said today, we need to be together. That's not just the players and coaches, that's the fans as well, right? Calm down the element of fan base, which I understand to some extent the concern, but equally, you know, look at the big picture, as it were. But secondly, you know, I think there is this sort of thing about the league being rubbish again is madness, because is the quality there of, maybe in terms of Arsenal, who I think are the best side this season, of that Manchester City side that went 100 points? No, it probably isn't, but I don't think it's as far off as it appears to be, because what I do think is the floor of the Premier League this season is much higher. And also, teams are playing in a different way to how they did 3-4 years ago. Playing out from the back is high risk. And if you've got a side of the quality of Manchester City at the time, they will absolutely destroy you. We've seen Arsenal do it this season when teams have played out against us. They've given us space, and generally speaking, we've exploited it. What is not easy to do when you have a higher floor, which we had this season, and teams are sitting in lower blocks and compressing the centre of the park. If you've got better teams doing it, and we saw Liverpool do it really effectively against us, we saw Manchester City do it against us effectively. These are two of the better sides in the league. It's going to be very hard to score and create that space, because the teams are good enough to stop that when they play like that. You know, and that's why you're seeing the disparity in terms of the results compared to that season a few years ago. And it's why you're seeing more defeats. This idea that someone's going to go on a 10-15 game winning spree between now and then.
It's not going to happen, is it?
If they do, fair play. You're probably winning the league, and well done to you. You know, and I know someone said, well, Aston Villa did it. They did, but Emery does it all the time. And does anyone think they're sustaining it? You know, they also did it, and you look at the underlying numbers for it, they were damn lucky to do it. But actually, we went on decent runs as well this season. Let's not forget. But it's hard to do in this league. It really is. You know, you go to Brentford away. It's not easy. You should be winning it, granted, but it's not easy. It's not a gimme.
No. Well, Bournemouth away is not a gimme, is it? It's you've got those kind of teams. I quite like it, Raiola. The fact that he does that, he plays the same way against everybody, and he gives it. Gives it his all every single time. But I do wonder sometimes if he was a little bit more conservative, maybe, whether he'd have a few more points on the board, and maybe they weren't in a position. I don't necessarily think that. I don't want to say it's not sustainable, because it kind of is. They've already proved it is. But I think that they get a hell of a lot more points if they were a little bit more conservative at times, and maybe just mix it up a bit. And instead of doing the whole motion thing the whole time, literally just when, right, we're going to play 20 minutes this way and 25 minutes this way, and we're going to take it from there, because they've conceded a hell of a lot of goals, a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about that as you were talking then, because I hadn't given it much thought, but I agree with you here, because I also like Areola, and I like the fact he's a values manager and he's a principled manager, but I feel sorry for him, and this kind of speaks to your second point here. He lost four? We've spoken about it before, 4 out of his back 5. Well, you kind of need to protect them a little bit, because you're not getting the same quality in, because, and I don't mean this to sound dismissive.
No, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
You're not going to get, I know Kirkes is struggling at Liverpool, but you're not going to get a top 4 starting player, which is essentially what Liverpool thought they were getting in Kirkes. And maybe with a change of their system, maybe they get it again, because it's a different role he's got there. You're not getting that if you're Bournemouth. You're just not. So do you need to protect them a little bit? And I just wonder, because obviously people are going to be talking about the likes of him and Glasner, another one I sort of feel sorry for at the moment, as potential managers, and I've done it myself for big clubs. Could they go in and get the Manchester United job or something like that? And there'll probably be a shuffle ground in the summer. Maybe Eddie Howe becomes the England manager and Newcastle becomes available. I'm just speculating. The question I would have of Areola, I think he'd be a good appointment. He'd probably be a good appointment for, say, Spurs, for instance. But is the fact that he can't change his ways and he just plays in that way, could that be his undoing at the very top level? I think the reason Mikel Arteta will be a top level manager and is showing that he can be is if you look at Arsenal over his time here, we start with a back three, very pragmatic, shifted to the back four, but still very defensively minded. We then sort of gone into the sort of 4-3-3. And well, at times Odegaard is a bit deep in a 4-3-3. We do generally sort of play closer to a 4-2-3-1 at times. Again, you can see even within the. I'm just talking formations here, and I know they're kind of meaningless on the pitch, but you can see the evolution of the team season by season. And left back kind of shows it the most, where we went from obviously a wing back to a Tierney flying forward to an inverted fullback to now sort of a little bit of a mixture of we can invert or go wide from the current one. And that's just a left back position. You're seeing quite significant tweaks within and development. And I think that's what you have to be a top manager. Pep does it as well, a lot. And no one can deny he's a top manager. But when you just go for your one, this is how I play and that's it, maybe it kind of means you've got a ceiling and that ceiling is below that top level.
Yeah, I mean, it's very. I mean, Hansi Flick is another kind of example, really, because he plays that same way against everybody, and he's got that line that the kind of yeah, it's really attacking and really focused and stuff, but when it doesn't work, then he's struggling, and it's very Angeball, if he comes to the Prem, for example, then he's going to be the same as Ange, isn't he? He's literally going to get some results purely because at that level of team, unless he manages Man City, for example, right, where he's got the quality players up front and they just outscore everybody, and we kind of going through to that phase again where kind of started with Martinez, I guess, and then went to with Wenger and everything. We're just literally just going in and we'll score more goals than you.
We're gonna score. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just mad, wasn't it? But it's and then, but that kind of got forgotten about. And then when Spurs were doing it, it was like, well, yeah, we invented entertaining football, and okay, I'm sure it was another manager that was in London that did that. But okay, whatever you want to tell yourselves. But I'm not sure that that a Flick would work in the Premier League. From my point of view, I think you need to be just that little bit more adaptable. I think I was thinking for another word than conservative, and he was like, "Yeah, you just need to you need to be able to adapt to the situation."
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, some flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the likes of Forest, for example, they'll literally sit back for 40 minutes, and then that last 5 minutes, they'll actually go at you, and they do it all the time. Dyche annoys me, by the way, but there you go. That's just a different story altogether. Yeah,
he's good at what he does.
We need to stop play acting, and we need to stop diving and this, that, and the other. Yeah. I mean, you could start with your own players, mate.
But I don't wear a jumper when it's cold. I just stand in the snow because that's what I do. I'm a bear.
Yeah, shorts on in the in -6 and all this stuff. Yeah. It's just like, just because you say things with conviction doesn't make it right.
No, I mean, look, Sean Dyche is good at what he does, right? He's good at getting people to hate him and feed off that. But again, it's kind of similar to what we were saying about Areola, but just sort of the other way around. Again, it's going to leave you limited in terms of how far you can take a side.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, but I mean, I've seen loads of people basically saying that they want a manager change now. Just
What, Arsenal?
yeah,
I know, it's ridiculous, absolutely insane.
Absolutely insane.
We're not winning anything with this clown. It's like,
yeah, I mean, but then they say, oh yeah, everything's got to be perfect, right? But you're like, well, you're on at the team, you're on other fans that don't agree with you, so everything's not perfect, is it?
No, you're actively going against that.
You're creating noise, which is in essence making it not perfect, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you're doing it and whatever. I mean, I heard the same person that I was going on about was basically, yeah, if he wins the Champions League, get him a statue.
Yeah.
And you just like, what planet are you on? You so flip flop, it's unbelievable. He was kind of going, well, the only reason if we win the League Cup, the only reason we'd win the League Cup is because I said that we should go for the League Cup. You know, okay.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta had certainly heard that. Do you know what? John from Hertfordshire said, "Do you know what, boys? We've got to win the League Cup, haven't we?"
Khalid, do you watch him? Do you watch him, Khalid?
I don't know who he is, but
yeah, I'm not sure you want to. I'll tell you.
No, it sounds like I might be dodging a bullet.
The thing is, it's worth watching sometimes to hear what they're moaning about now and what they're doing, this, that, and the other. What are you doing, Cal?
But yeah, I mean,
pointing at me on the search.
But
I think he's after the cable.
The cable, yeah. But fixes the game. But yeah,
I think
it's in some ways I've always seen more respect for the ones that just hate Arteta, even if they can't admit it, and would like him to fail, almost more than the flip flop. You know, I don't understand those that are saying quadruples on. I mean, it is technically on, but you know, the fact that I mean, I think everyone is shocked if we win the quadruple because it's not.
Yeah, but we've got the worst manager in history, and
exactly,
and we're going to win a quadruple. What?
But how can But how can you say? On one hand, we've got the worst manager, but we're going to win the quadruple, something that I don't think has ever been done by an English side. You know, in fact, it hasn't been done by an English side. I don't need to hedge. It hasn't been done by an English side. And yet you've got the worst manager, but then can go, we're going to win the lot, to, we're terrible. We lost the one game. It's like, which is it? At least with the Arteta outers, well, I find it very frustrating where everything is the fault of the manager, and there are criticism of the manager, but everything's his fault. I mean, I saw today a social media post of Odegaard being here 5 years is Arteta having no standards. I mean, how do you link those two things? You know, but at least it's consistent. But equally, you say you love the club and you want it to win. Well, you know, you can get behind the club and you can show constructive criticism. But this is just downright hate. I find that mad. But as I say, I can kind of live with that a little bit more than everything's going to be great. Everything's rubbish. Everything's going to be great. I can't cope with that.
I swear it's just for clicks and sales.
Yeah, I think so.
And whatever. It can't be for anything else. It's at this point it can't be. There was another one that I kind of tuned into for like milliseconds because he was, you know, where I said everybody's allowed their own opinion.
Yes.
He's like, yeah. We called it. Oh, I've called this out from God knows how long, and now you're complaining. Well, yeah, because now I actually think I've got something to complain about rather than just making something up to complain about. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't come to me now and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you permission, mate.
Yeah.
The one point you made, I agreed with you, but it's like, well, yeah. Oh yeah, you're some beacon of light. That's something to aspire to be. And I'm just like, honestly, I used to be quite a negative person, to be honest. I used to be quite pessimistic and
half glass empty.
Glass half empty, yeah, absolutely. And I used to be like that, and I actually found it very draining, to be honest.
It is draining. It is draining.
I actually find it very draining and very very negative, very why do I bother sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Got those kind of thoughts going on all the time.
But if you look at, and this isn't a sort of dig at Wenger, but if you look at the end of Wenger, Emery, even early Arteta years, early Arteta, I was quite a supporter quite early on of Arteta because I could kind of see what he was trying to do and how he was trying to do it. And I think that was important. But it was draining at that point because there didn't seem to be any ambition. If there was ambition, it wasn't obvious, and there wasn't a plan of how.
It wasn't even the end of Wenger, by the way. It wasn't even the end of him. It was kind of only about 3 or 4 years in.
Yeah. I mean,
really, because we had no ambition to win the Champions League.
No, bar that one run to the final, yeah.
But that was by accident. It wasn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't because they'd invested millions into the club. They literally invested in a few players, and
it all came good.
It wasn't because of the ambition at the time, and then kind of everything spiraled towards the Emirates era, and we're moving there to compete with the big boys, and they didn't bank on Chelsea and Man City being the big boys, did they? They banked on, well, we're going to be competing with Man United for the whole period.
And in some ways, you couldn't necessarily see you could probably see City coming after Chelsea. Chelsea was probably a blindside one because no one saw it coming. But at that point, well, someone else was obviously going to try and replicate it.
Yeah. And then you obviously got Newcastle now, but obviously there's
tighter restrictions.
There's restrictions on it, and I get their frustration as well that they're not allowed to spend as much money and such like. But I do get the reasons for that. I know that we get called the Red Cartel, and I know that the one letter that went up to the FA or FIFA or whoever it went to with an Arsenal bloody motif on it does the rounds every single time. Like no other club sent a letter. Yeah, but no other club sent a letter. You're not telling me Man United didn't send a letter. You're not telling me Chelsea. You're not telling me Spurs. You're not telling me anybody else.
Of course it did.
In that period, didn't send a letter to the FA trying to protect their position.
Well, so I'd actually be more worried about them if they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you should be protecting the interests of your club. That is what it is about. Rightly or wrongly, it is a selfish world. Because if you're not, then you to quote Game of Thrones, if you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. You win or you die. I mean, it's essentially the same in football, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think that the ambition really only started like 3-4 years ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. The owners get a lot of stick, and I can understand certain voices around. But
I was one of the biggest mouthpieces for wanting them out because I think, well, I'm paying for a season ticket, and you're showing no ambition to win anything.
Yeah, but I was going to say, and I think that was a fair narrative. But since they've taken sole ownership, I think there has been a step change in approach from them. Certainly since Josh Kroenke came sort of more active in it.
I think that was the change, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
that was a whole change. I think he would have hoped that that it would be there or thereabouts by now. But yeah, I do think Edu held us back.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, with what's happened with Mertesacker and probably Wilshere as well, with the youth setup, maybe they've basically gone with a more professional kind of approach to get more experience in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it held us back, but I think what we have done is outgrown them. I think they took us to as far as they could take us, and we're now moving on to the next stage, Edu to Berta. I think Mertesacker is obviously, Mertesacker's had a lot of success with bringing players through. To what extent is that luck? To what extent is that, him? And probably a little bit of both, but equally, we haven't sold well from the youth academy. And, there is a clamour to sort of professionalise it a little bit. And there's even rumours that it wasn't solely his choice to go. Now, whether that's true or not is irrelevant. But I think, we've got to the point where the natural churn was coming now, and it's natural to try and go for that more experienced, not necessarily high profile, because high profile doesn't mean successful, but has a history of success doing that, same as we've done with Berta to replace Edu, you know, and I think that's probably right. So I don't think they've held us back. I think they were integral to getting us to where they are now. I just don't think they could get us over the line. I think Arteta can. I think he's different to the other two. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I think he can. I think there's a difference. But you know, we've certainly gone to that next level with Berta, and I think we probably will with that whoever comes in to replace Mertesacker.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a stream last night as well with Clash of the Reds, so big up to them. Where we were talking about Gyökeres as well. It's basically where, well, you know, is he a dud? You know, this, that, and the other. And it, you know, I think from my point of view, you know, well, we spent 58 million quid on him or whatever it is, 58 million euros, whatever. Even, you know, if he is a dud, right, for example, for argument's sake, we can still sell him for what 20 million less than we bought him for, or whatever it is, and we're in that position where we could take a hit if that was the case. And I kind of cited as well that they're Man United supporters, Liverpool supporters, whatever. So any of our big clubs, essentially, obviously they're bigger than us. We, you know, before anybody gets that kind of mixed up, that they're elite and we're just big. We could take a loss on him if he doesn't work out. Do you see that happening, or do you think that we just keep hold of him until we try and make it work?
A bit of both. I think we're sort of give it some time to see if we can make it work. But if not, I don't think there will be any qualms about selling him. And I think, you know, from a financial perspective, there is the advantage that if you sell him at a 20 million loss, you're probably going to be roughly quids in terms of the accounting perspective. Obviously, you've made a 20 million loss, but essentially, let's say you do it next summer 27. It's a 2-year rental for 20 million plus wages. Obviously, it's an expensive rental, but not the end of the world in football terms. You know, and then let's say you sell him for 45 million. Actually, that's a 45 million sugar rush when you've done the 60 million over, you know, 3-4 years, whatever length of contract he signed. So, you know, I can see us being
on a
more
5-year, I think.
Yeah, there you go, 5 years. But you can see how Arsenal then are probably going to be more ruthless. I can see how that stacks up. If you'd asked me that question with Edu here, and I'm not trying to bash Edu, as I say, I think Edu did largely a good job. I think he was really important for building the foundation, but he's not a roofer, to use a poor building analogy. But he, you know, I'm not sure he would have been that ruthless, because I'm not sure he had that confidence himself to go, I got this one wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think Edu did a lot wrong, to be honest, and I think that there's a lot that either we will never know, we don't know, and whatnot. But I do think he was a bigger problem than we see.
Possibly, we don't know what was Edu, what was Arteta, etc., etc. You know, to that extent, we don't know. You know, and to what extent did he get lucky? But I think some of the stuff around Edu is clouded by, and I'm just going to pick on Nuno Tavares here. What a poor signing that was. Now, it's obviously a sign that didn't work, but I kind of try and look at those signings in terms of what the intent was with where we were at the time. We needed a backup to Tierney, so we wanted someone similar, and we were what, 8th in the league, 6th in the league.
Yeah.
You know, and had limited money because we were trying to do a mass rebuild essentially. So he was a bit of a flyer, a bit of a chance, and obviously that's seen as a failure. And I don't sort of see it as black and white. I would sort of, if you're putting it into 5 categories, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst, he's somewhere about a high 4 because we got most of our money back. But he was also signed to be a backup player at the time when we weren't that good. So the quality, unless you get lucky, the quality's not going to be there. And I think a lot of his signings kind of fall into that bucket. But they came in and did the job we need them to. Matt Ryan, everyone says a bust. Well, actually, Matt Ryan played 5 games for us as a backup goalkeeper. Didn't cost the earth. I think it's actually quite a good signing. It's obviously not going to be a number 1 signing because he's a backup goalkeeper, not designed to play. But you know, and he's not of the quality.
He was 500k, wasn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. it was peanuts. I thought it was 1.5, but whatever, it's but I think that does cloud people's judgments of him. But also, as to your point, I think there was relief when he went. There wasn't a lot of thanks Edu sort of stuff beyond what you would expect to see. But and to what extent was it others around him? We don't know. But he, I could see how you could stack up that he isn't sort of he did hold us back, but it's not kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more of the kind of opinion that that he was fired, and he was surplus to requirements, and that's kind of what's been mooted with Mertesacker as well. I don't know how true that is, but I'm just trying to see where.
As Khalid says here, he signed Rice. It makes up for a lot of incompetence, and he was also, by all accounts, sort of laid the foundations for Zubimendi, of course. But but every single sporting director has successes and minuses. It's how you stack them up. But there's also, there didn't, to your point, there didn't seem to be a great deal of concern when he left. I think he probably talked himself out of the job by sort of going, well, if you don't give me the power, I'm going to get a Forest. I'm going to go. And Arsenal basically called his bluff and said, well, go, because we don't rate you high enough. Yeah, exactly.
And they're moaning about him as well. So, it obviously caused one of the managers to leave as well, Nuno. So, obviously not everything's rosy there as well.
No, but I think he tried to change too much too soon.
I'm not. The thing is that the sporting director won't get the credit for everything, because basically Tim Lewis was kind of dealing with transfers as well. So
certainly on the negotiating side.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how much involvement Edu would have had with actually the Rice deal, purely because we were run by lawyers, and I think that kind of frugal approach, I think, has kind of been binned, because obviously they want to not necessarily just make it on the pitch, but they want to make the money so that the club gets to the next level. For example, right? I mean, I don't know how much the Kronkers paid for Arsenal, right? But I can't imagine that it's probably about $1 billion, somewhere around $1 billion.
I was going to say 2, but because I think it's worth like 5-6 bill now.
It's about 5 billion, I think.
Yeah, and I think they paid about 2 for it. But
I didn't think it was that much. I think it was like.
I'll see if I can find out while you make your point. I'll see if I can get the numbers, because the numbers to some extent are going to be irrelevant to the point you're about to make, I suspect.
Yeah, for sure. But if we do win the Champions League, and we do, I think that immediately elevates his status, doesn't it, a little bit? I mean, I know it doesn't put us on an even keel with Man United and with Arsenal, but it certainly puts us. I think one Champions League is kind of. What I'm saying is that the second Champions League is not as important as the first one, right? So once you've got one, that gives you the status, right? So the second one doesn't necessarily give you any better status as such. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you're a Champions League winner, whether you've won it once or twice. I do think when you've got it like 3, 4, 5, 6 times, I think that elevates you even more.
Yeah, there's kind of that period in between, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, so long, obviously City have got one, but it's still given them that status.
Kudos.
That they're big in Europe, because obviously they've got the Champions League, they've got the trophy to prove it.
What I do think you have to do, because I think you're right, but what you do have to do is show that you can keep competing going forward, even if you don't get that second one. You can't do what Porto did, say, and win it and then be nothing again. But you still get some kudos from that, but not quite to the same extent. But I have the numbers for you. You're right. We paid just over 1 billion for Arsenal, and they're worth
1.2 maybe.
Yeah, well, 1.1 near it would be the rounding there, and it's
Okay.
worth about 3.4 billion today.
Right. Okay. So it's
I
so look
was
at
I was right, but I was doing it in dollars.
fair, fair, fair. So
Roughly.
you think that's I mean we own the stadium as well, or they own the
Yeah.
stadium as well.
Yeah.
So you think we go to the next level essentially and become a Champions League winning side? That has got to affect that figure like
Yeah.
massively.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think so. I mean, I just want to pick up on your point about fragility here, or fragility. So Arsenal were, and I think sensibly so. So I think they had to as they were building because we didn't have Champions League revenue. Commercial revenues weren't so big because we weren't in Champions League. So to
yeah.
your point on the Champions League and winning it, I think our commercial revenues are increasing because we're clearly getting towards a point where people think we can, and therefore the exposure is getting bigger and
Well,
bigger. So
yeah,
it's worth
and
more.
we got rid of Gazidis because he was useless.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean that increased the stock price by at least 10%.
Oh my god! I wish they'd have called me that day and made me his taxi service to Milan.
I'd have done it for free.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but you know, especially if it's Milan because it's a nice city.
Yeah, screwed that up as well.
Yeah, I know. But you know, I think Arsenal had to be frugal to some extent because they had a budget. I think we still have a budget, and I think Arsenal will walk away from a deal. And I think some of the decision over Jokerit over Šeško was about the financial package. It wasn't totally, but it was
it's about the risk. I think the risk.
Exactly. And you know, but I think that's what good football clubs do. You know, I hear this narrative: just pay the money, you get what you want. I don't think that's totally true because sometimes it's not about the money for players, sometimes about other things. I think Rice could have earned the same money at City and arguably could have made a case that he was going to win more at Manchester City than Arsenal at the time. But he also he felt he could win at Arsenal and wanted to stay in London. It was a big factor. But also, once you start paying the money, you get absolutely rinsed every single time. Look at what Chelsea pay now. And this isn't to have a go at Chelsea per se, but Chelsea, they know that if you come and you've got a £50 million player, you're probably getting 65, 70. By negotiating hard and you've got a £50 million player, you're probably getting them for Arsenal for 55 because you're showing that you're going to walk away. You're shown you're going to negotiate.
I actually think that they pay more as well because they do the signing on fee, they do the agent's fee because the wages are lower.
Yeah, possibly.
So where we will improve the contracts to a certain level now. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the case before, but we'd improve that to a certain level. Chelsea have that ceiling, and and we were like that, to be fair, and Spurs probably still are like that, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, and you kind of have to be at some extent. But I think what has changed now isn't that we're paid whatever. But what I think we have is we can take bigger financial risk because we've increased our stature and increased our income. But also because we're at a point now where we are going for the best, and therefore the risk is lower because you almost know what you're going to get. But there is still a walkaway point for Arsenal, and they have shown they will do it. And I think those two things really build us well for success.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it might be some of the stuff that was coming out from the camps initially as well. But yeah, there was some weird stuff going on with that Gyökeres transfer. To be fair, but they obviously fancied that more than the Šeško one. And what was it they signed him for in the end? 68 or something.
I think it was 68 million euros. So I think it was near a 60
million.
So
it's not much. It's not much more. It's around about the same. I don't know what it's
it was just under what we paid for Havertz, basically. And his wages, by the way, are not massive. I think they're 150 a week, which, you know, to me and you and probably anyone else listening is huge. But in football terms, for a striker, not that much.
Yeah, I've seen as well that Havertz is looking at getting renewed, and they're looking at a slight decrease in his weekly wage. So
yeah, in exchange for a 1 year extension.
Yeah, for an extension and bonus payments, I think. So they're trying to change it,
incentivize the contract. Yeah, which coming off the back of an injury is quite sensible.
Yeah, absolutely,
and also slightly reduced stature in the squad.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, realistically speaking, he's not going to be the penalty taker anymore, anyway, is he? So
not unless he's on a goal drought, and we're away at Bournemouth.
Well, we got plenty of players on goal droughts, and they're all on 5. So yeah. Only own goals on 6. As we keep getting told.
That annoys me. It's like, how many of those do we have a player right behind ready to score for one and for a second?
Well, the Timber one, the one against Man United, Timber was stood right there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if he doesn't touch it, he's just got a tap in, literally a tap in. So you know, I also seen that. Did you see the ones with the players surrounding the keeper? That we've got 4 players around the keeper, and they've got 8 players around the keeper, and the keeper's been blocked. Have you seen that?
No. What's this?
So basically, they're showing images of this shouldn't be allowed. So
this nonsense again.
Yeah. So there's the keeper. Geez. There's 4 players in and around, and then they've got 8 of their players. The funny thing is, right, and I find it hilarious, right? They're all picking it out and basically going, you can't block the keeper. The keeper, by the way, punched the ball away, unhindered completely, punched the ball away, and they created a counter-attack from it. So he wasn't hindered at all, right? But
even if he was,
right? There's one image with Casemiro with his arm like this around one of the players' throat. There's another one with Martinez doing the same thing, and there's another one where Cunha pushed White into the post, but he missed. He was missing the post, but Rice was coming in behind him, bashed into him, and he cracked his elbow onto the post.
But that's somehow White's fault.
But no, it was Rice's fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. Sorry, I said White, but I meant Rice.
Yeah, it was all Rice's fault. Yeah.
But actually, just
give Havertz a 10-year contract. No,
definitely not. But I mean, just actually quickly on sort of refereeing stuff, and you know, I mean, it's mental what you're talking about. It's perfectly legal what Arsenal are doing, and other teams are perfectly at liberty to do it. But yeah, exactly. That's a logical next step, right? If you want to carry on that. But
just to cut into that, just 1 second, just to reiterate this, that Mark Clattenburg came out and basically did a post where he's gone, the keepers aren't protected enough, right? And I was on Twitter reading this post, and then the very next post down was the post of Martinez, where he gathered the ball, completely taken it in, nobody anywhere near him, done whatever, and he held his back, put himself on the floor, and he wants a tactical timeout.
Yeah, which is which obviously he gets as a keeper, but it's just absurd.
It's outrageous. They should just play on. They should just play on.
Yeah, or someone's got to go and goal until the ball next goes out of play.
Yeah.
Because if the outfield players have to go off, and I get when the keeper really has been hurt and you can sort of see the contact, but
he literally went over like a bloody skittle. It was ridiculous.
But yeah, probably the final point for me, because speaking of backs, mine is now starting to jip. But what was I going to say? I want to actually say well done, and I can't believe he's been taking off refereeing duties this weekend to the referee that did the City game. He got sent to the monitor in his first ever game under massive pressure, and I also think he made the right call, by the way, and said, "I don't think that's a penalty." Because I think his arm is, I know it's out, but I think it's in a natural position because he's trying to slow himself down. At that point, you do put your arm out. You just do. And, it's a clever little flick back towards him. But where's he supposed to get his arm out of the way from that distance?
I think he was trying to kick it over his head. I don't think he was
trying to kick it at him.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think the defender was trying to line up to boot it back up the field.
Yes. I think he was trying to get it back out for a throw, but yes.
And he basically put both his arms out at the equal distance, so they're natural. And also I can't remember who kicked the ball at him, but
I want to say Shirky, but I don't think it was. but it was certainly it might have been Marmoush, I think.
Okay, but he
but-
had his arm out at the same distance.
Yeah, and the reason they both got their arms out is because they're slowing down, because Marmoush is about to make a turn and the defender is slowing down so he doesn't clatter him, so that he can adjust to the turn that Marmoush is about to make. They're both slowing down, which is why their arms come out. And at that distance, he can't get his arm out of the way. I thought that was really good, brave refereeing. Now, maybe he's only been taken out because of the heat that's on him, because they have done it before, but they've only done it really when there's been a really, really controversial decision. It's only controversial because not enough referees do that. And for him to do that in his first ever game, genuinely, and I'm not just saying this because it's against our title rivals that missed out on the penalty, they still won the game. But I can't remember what game it was earlier this season where I thought it wasn't a free kick or penalty in our favour for that exact reason. You cannot, at that distance, get your arm out the way, and it is in a natural position. It just is.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think Pep going up to the referee after the game is disgusting. I think he should be reprimanded for it.
He won't be, but I'd say that if Arteta did it as well. And by the way,
I would as well.
It's a bit like Maguire. When he's sort of sliding down, I actually think his arm is in a natural position. It hits it. The one that should have been disallowed.
The only thing I question with that is
it's less clear cut than the City one. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah. The only thing I would question is he's not falling over.
He's not falling. He's not falling. He's sliding. But I think that's why I think his arm is natural.
But why is he going over? That's the only question mark I have with it. I don't think it's a penalty, right? But why is he going down?
I think he's going down to. I mean, it's Harry Maguire, so God knows what's going through his mind. But I can only think he's going to try and make a block. But or maybe he's trying to
with what though?
With his body to try and get low to the floor, which is insane. It's not what you'd normally do, but Harry Maguire is Harry Maguire. But I mean, I think that's one of those ones where if it's given on the field, I don't think it should be overturned, and vice versa, because I think it is subjective. But I personally, as a defender, would be absolutely livid to have it given against me. So I'm not going to go mental about that. And I'm not even going on the Dalot one. That, by the way, is a handball because it leads to a goal-scoring action, which is by the rules is a handball. Dorgu, sorry. Who did I say? Doku. Dorgu. But I'm not sort of moaning from the point of view of we lost the game because of that. I think it was a significant game changer in the game, but that's not the reason why we lost, or certainly not solely. That one was, but a penalty. You can argue whether it should or shouldn't be, but in terms of should that rule exist like that, but that is the rule. But I thought, I'm not complaining about the Maguire one at all. If it's given, I can see it. If it's not, I can see it. But
I agree with you. I think to be fair, I don't think the Maguire one. I don't think I would have given that if I was the official. I don't think I would have given that. He's using it to support himself. I only question why he's going down like that.
Which I think is fair enough, which is why you could give the penalty, right? But I bring up the Harry Maguire one not to sort of, justify it, but to show that when I'm talking about this Man City penalty not being given against Mascara is to show that actually equally, I didn't think the Maguire one is. I either, and they're not the same, but they're similar in terms of arms sort of not next to the body. I think it's important that we sort of demonstrate on this channel that we're not just totally biased towards our own team. We can
absolutely not, and not making excuses for the loss either, because I'm not. I don't think the ref was very good. I think for 50-50s, I think we were way off. I don't think we got a fair share of decisions, but I don't think they were important decisions as such. I think they were just run of the mill, kind of positions, and I think we only have ourselves to blame.
Absolutely.
For the loss. I do think on another day we don't lose that, and we would potentially win it, because
it's a bit like the one at Anfield earlier this season.
The mistake from Zubimendi doesn't happen every time. Dorgu's worldie doesn't happen every time, and I don't think he ever scores another goal like that again.
No,
honestly, no. I really don't think he does.
No. I mean, that was a game changer, and it shouldn't have counted. But equally, as you say, that wasn't the sole reason why we lost the game. Not even close.
See, so you're saying that one shouldn't count?
Dorgu shouldn't count because it hits his hand and then he scores. So there's no intent. Hand is in a natural position. The reason it doesn't count is because when you look at the law of the game, it says if that handball deliberate or not, natural hand position or not, and it then leads directly to a goal, which it does because his next touch is to bang it in the top corner. It has to be disallowed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get that. I mean, we've obviously seen that implemented against us as well.
Yes.
Havertz did one on the touchline at one point, and it kind of brushed his arm, even though his arm is here.
Yeah,
it's right in his body, and they've disallowed it.
And that's why they've disallowed it.
Yeah, there was a ghost handball as well that the official managed to see through 5 players against Aston Villa. I think it was. Well, I think that was a couple of seasons ago, to be fair.
Yeah.
So we have seen them ruled out. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even see it conclusively.
That's why it wasn't given. I mean, I think it does hit his arm quite conclusively, but they said it wasn't. And look, like I say, it's been given. It's a great goal. He doesn't deserve to get it ruled out just because it's such a good goal. And it was a game changer in terms of the momentum of the game. But equally, Arsenal just didn't do enough to win it. And that last point is the key point.
Yeah, I agree completely, and yeah, we just have to improve with that as we've said as throughout the stream. So yeah, we just have to make sure that we get the points at Leeds at the weekend. And in the meantime, get over the job at Khairat. So what's your score prediction for Khairat?
Difficult to say, isn't it? I'm going to go 5-1.
5-1.
I think I said 4-1 in my preview for tomorrow, but 5-1.
Yeah, I kind of hope we just go all guns blazing, but I just don't think it's gonna be that kind of thing. So I'd say 4-0. I'm going to go for.
Yeah, there's also the element, of course, as well of how much do we do what we did in those sort of early rounds of the League Cup, got to 2-0 and went, well, we're just going to pass it around and just.
No, that's what I mean. We're not going to be all guns blazing. It's going to get to a point where the game's out of reach and we'll just start prattling around all day football and that kind of thing.
Just rest the legs.
Just chill it out rather than do whatever. What I would like to see is full throttle, all guns blazing, and just put somebody to the sword. And I don't care that it's Khairat, to be honest. I think it then takes away the kind of thought process from the weekend and go right. That's what we can do.
Yeah,
and you take that forwards then.
Yeah.
So T's in the chat said, oh, by the way, this is Dugout T. Just got home, crazy traffic. Glad you got home safe, my friend.
Absolutely.
3-0 to the Arsenal if we rotate. I think that there's no question that we rotate. I do think. I do think personally that that we should just go for it. What did Khairat ever do to me? Nothing, but it could do a lot for me, in my opinion, right? So you look at, I mean, even what, like I said, what Pep did with Exeter, and there was no need for him to play that lineup, and we don't need to play such a strong lineup. We're still going to be resting 2, 3, 4 players anyway. 2 are enforced anyway. And we can just literally use that essentially as a springboard to get over Sunday. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Finish the game in the first half. Yeah, I agree with that as well. The only problem with that is that we've obviously been in the situation before where we think we've finished the game in the first half. So we play the second half like we have got the game won, and then it's not been the situation, but there we go. Please make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing the channel. Thank you very much for joining us, and thanks, Dom, for coming on again. Appreciate you.
No, thanks for having me as always. And are you going to the game tomorrow?
No, purely because I'm doing something on my floor in the lounge, so I need to get that done.
Nice.
Before my fitter comes. So
Very good.
yes.
Hopefully managing to watch it whilst doing it.
Is there a stream for the Leeds game? We will be live on Thursday. No time specified yet, but between 7 and 8, somewhere around there. But yeah, appreciate your support as always, Khalid, and everybody that's in the chat. Everybody, make sure you're liking and subscribing. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Have a great week, whatever you're up to. And hope we have entertaining football watching the Khairat game tomorrow night. But yeah, in the meantime, have a great one, and we'll see you next time. We're out of here. Good night.